Welcome to the Figure Feedback Podcast, and this episode is called What Makes a Beginner Friendly 3D Printer? And I'm going to share with you an experience that I have and am currently having about a very popular 3D printer that's being sold and marketed as being a good option for beginners, especially if you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, and why I think maybe it's not the best option. But before I get into that, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So it's been a little while since I did the last episode, and I just want to get you up to date on what's happening currently here on the Figure Feedback channel. So first, if you haven't seen the video about a program called Octo Everywhere, it's a plugin. I highly recommend that you check that out, especially if you're thinking about getting a 3D printer that's running something like Clipper or some type of, open software that will allow you to remote into it so that you can have more control over your 3D printer. And with Octo Everywhere, since I've been using it to remotely monitor my prints. I have the AI failure detection on. So if it detects that something is going wrong with my prints, it'll send me an email and it'll actually pause the print for me just to stop anything crazy from happening. And it's just been a really great experience with me using it and being able to access my printer remotely on my phone through the Fluid interface. Usually you got to be on the same network to do that, but not with Octo Everywhere. So you can check out that video. I'll tell you all about it over there, but I do want to tell you about that here too. The other thing I want to tell you about is HueForge and how to print 2D art on your 3D printer. So if you haven't seen that video, check that out. That's a ton of fun. I have been printing a decent amount of artwork based on that method. I've got 3 of the 4 Ninja Turtles portraits that I have on my wall. I've got some Dragon Ball stuff, some Spider-Man stuff. Like once you start getting started printing these HueForge prints, it's kind of hard to stop, and it doesn't even take that much filament. That's the best part about it. So you check that out as well. Now, I have been getting some comments telling me about the Clipper release of software for the FlashForge Adventurer 5M printers, and I am aware of it and I have seen it, but I am not going to install it, at least just not yet, because it's still very early in its infancy. It's really amazing how these really smart people have been able to put this together. And from what I understand, it's even like a dual bootable version. So once you install the pure Clipper on the printer, you can actually make it so that you can go back to the FlashForge version of the software if you want to, so you're not stuck with it. But the reason why I'm not going to be using it right now, simply because it's very, very early. And I would prefer to wait until things have gotten more fleshed out, until more people have tested it and really showed it off. I would like to see some videos of someone installing it and kind of just running through everything and just kind of make sure that it is as feature rich as it can be, because I understand the advantages of being able to use Clipper and the extra control that it gives you. I totally understand it. It's awesome because, I am using it on another printer that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But right now, me using the FlashForge Adventurer 5M, I'm fine with where the software is now. I've been having a really great experience with it, printing out a lot of things, and I haven't had any major problems with it. And I kind of don't want to risk that because, frankly, I don't have the money to be experimenting on the software of a $300 3D printer. And if something goes wrong and I can't figure out how to get it back to where it used to be, then I'm just going to be seriously bummed. So right now, I'm not going to be putting that on the printer, but I'm going to be keeping my eyes open for some more updates and developments on that. One of the things that I've seen that at least at the time wasn't really working all that great was it connecting to Wi-Fi, and you had to do something special in order to basically, tell the printer, hey, you can connect to Wi-Fi, and it wasn't just a toggle and putting in your credentials and stuff like that. But as time goes on, I'm sure that these folks are going to make it even more stable, and there's going to be some guides and some everything that, will be a lot more safe to use for the everyday person. So that's where that is now. And then as for the enclosure, DIY enclosure kit for the FlashForge Adventure 5M, there is a kit available right now on AliExpress. All these things, I'm going to leave links to them in the description. At AliExpress, it costs about $48.99. So let's just say $50. And it comes with these polycarbonate panels, drag chain, magnets, and I'm assuming also some screws. They had a very limited amount. It's not being sold by FlashForge. It's being sold by some other company. I don't know. It's like starts with an F, but it's not FlashForge. And they only had a handful and they sold out. But the last time I checked, it was back. And I also saw that for some reason the price had went down to like $12.99, and I think that's when a lot of people just jumped on it. I don't know why the price went down that low, but I was thinking about getting one just for the heck of it because it was so cheap. But by the time I looked there again, it was sold out, and now it's back, but the price has gone back up. So if you want to get the DIY enclosure kit because you don't want to go through the trouble trying to cut your own panels and measuring and drilling everything to be absolutely perfect, you can try out that, I guess, third-party kit on AliExpress. But FlashForge definitely needs to get themselves in gear and officially release that DIY kit, because they've been saying, I think for months, that it's coming soon, and then it just does not come. So need to get on that FlashForge, because whoever this other company is, they're eating your lunch. So now the topic at hand. What makes a beginner-friendly 3D printer? Now, here's the thing. The printer that I alluded to in the beginning that I'm a little bit confused about why it's being considered so beginner-friendly, it's the Neptune 4 series of printers. That includes Neptune 4, Neptune 4 Pro, Neptune 4 Plus, Neptune 4 Max. Now, when these printers came out, they seemed amazing, because they're high-speed printers, up to 500 millimeters per second printing speed. You're most likely going to be printing slower than that, but it's still a high-speed printer. And the price is a big deal. You can get the Pro or just a regular Neptune 4 for around like $250-ish, maybe a little bit less if you can find it on sale. The Pro version will cost you a little bit more. The Plus version is around $350, and if you were able to catch that eBay deal that was going down about a week or two ago, you could have got 20% off a lot of different printers, and even gotten the Plus down to like around $300 or even less than that. You add in tax, it might as well would have been $300, but it was a really good deal. But even when they were new, it was still a good deal for everything that printer offered. Auto bed leveling, in quotes, the fast speed printing, the really big, beefy, strong fan that you can attach to the gantry. That's awesome. It's got the integrated lights on the gantry at the top. It's got a light on the print head you can operate separately. And through just all the videos and promotions and stuff, and just Elegoo's history of 3D printers, it was just great. Even though it still has the wheels that you have to turn because you have to do the manual bed leveling, I think that the days of those are gone. At least they should be gone moving forward. A company that comes out with a 3D printer, especially if they're a company like Elegoo, should not be using those anymore. I think we are beyond the wheels. So I think this was probably like the final Elegoo FDM printer that is going to come with that, and everyone else is just going to the Core XY stuff. So I have one. I have an Elegoo Neptune 4 printer. And when I got it, I was like, all right, I'm going to set this thing up fresh out of the box. Should take, according to what a lot of people say, maybe 20 minutes, 25, something like that. It's not true. Unless you've put these printers together on a regular basis, I don't think that the assembly is as beginner friendly as they say. Now, there's less places that you can go wrong with the Neptune 4 compared to something old like the Ender 3, where you had to, put on everything from the gantry to the belts. With the Neptune 4, you don't have to put on the belts or anything, but it's not the kind of printer that you can get up and running in 10 or 15 minutes unless you've done this a lot and you know exactly what you're doing. You have all of the tools that you need, you have all of the things that, you just know what you're doing. Just following the instructions that they give you in the box and on the assembly video, either that Elegoo provided or something that someone on YouTube has done, is going to take longer than that. I would say if you're doing it by yourself and you're just starting out, it's probably going to take you up to an hour, if not maybe a little bit more, just so you can feel comfortable that you got everything where you need to get it. The assembly process is not difficult. I just think that it's a little bit more than what the average beginner would want to put into it. Like, for example, when you put on the gantry, you have to take the screws that they give you and they go in through the bottom of the printer, which means you have to lift the base up with one hand, hold the gantry, kind of have it in place, and then you got the Allen key, and you just got to make sure that those screws are in the holes. It's a blind installation because you can't really see. You have to feel for it. And you have to tighten them down just enough, and then you have to turn it around, get it on the other side. And it's just like that awkward feeling of, I hope I don't tilt it too much and then it completely falls over and I won't be able to catch it. And if it falls, I don't want to accidentally bend something or throw something else out of alignment. And it's just kind of finicky, when you do that. So, and then once you get that down, you have to put on the print head, which again, the print head it's not a difficult thing to do, but when you start adding all of these other little parts, you have to take the belt and you have to guide the belt to the print head, and you have to clip that in. And in the official instructions, the little bracket piece on the gantry where you're supposed to put the belt in so that the belt can have a place to sit, the belt that's connected to the print head, they actually tell you to fold it and then just kind of stuff it in there. It's really, really weird. And they tell you to do that because if you don't, then the belt is going to rub up against the X-axis and it's going to cause some wear and stuff. So they tell you to fold it. But fortunately, people in the community have come up with another part that I use that you can replace the part that Elegoo shipped with so that you don't have to fold the belt. You can just leave it the way that it is and it keeps it away from the gantry. So the assembly process is not quick, is basically what I'm trying to say. It doesn't take a super long time, but if you're just starting out, you've never done anything like this before, it's going to take you up to an hour, if not a little bit more, so that you can make sure that you have everything the way that you need to have it. So once you get everything set up, you're doing the assembly, you start thinking about, what about the other printers out there? What's the assembly process like with these newer printers? Not the bed slingers, but the Core XY. They could be bed slingers, I take that back, but also the Core XY printers. Beginner level printers like the Creality Ender 3 SE, and then the Ender 3, that KE version, and then with the K1s and the Bamboo Lab printers, the FlashForge Adventurer printers, the Anchor Mate printers. The thing that all these printers have in common is that they are a lot quicker to set up, far more quicker to set up. For the FlashForge printer, you didn't really have to put anything on besides the spool holder and attach the screen and take out some screws to keep the bed in place. I mean, it's pretty much it. And that is just fast enough and simple enough for anybody to do. I think that's a reasonable expectation. So that's just completely fine. So back to the Neptune 4. You got to get the thing leveled. You turn the printer on, you got to level it. And that's where this antiquated method of doing the paper test comes in. So you go to the leveling menu, you home it, you got to go to all of these corners with your little piece of paper, putting it under the nozzle, pushing it in and out, twisting the wheels. And if you have the Plus, you have to twist 6 wheels because there's 3 wheels on each side. The smaller printers, it's just going to be 4 corners, but the larger ones, you got wheels on all the sides. And even after you do that, you have to do it again because even though you're like, I felt friction on all of these places where the wheels are, you got to go back because now there's going to be some part of it that is too tight and you need to loosen it up. And because you loosen that up, then it affected another point. So now you have to just go around 3-4 times until everything just kind of feels good, just without you doing much to it. Then you do the auto leveling, which is really just a compensation thing. It goes and it probes the bed in either there's 2 different modes. There's like a regular mode that I think it does like 36 points. And then if you do like a professional mode, it goes up to like 100 and something points. So it does that all the way around. And you're like, okay, sweet. We're good to go. That's what I thought too. I did a test Benchy. And the Benchy was fine. And then I went to do another test print. It was for the holder, the tool holder for the printer. And it was looking kind of rough, looking pretty rough. And I'm like, whew, okay, that's a bit weird. I thought maybe the nozzle might have been too close. Maybe the Z offset was a little bit too close. Oh yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention, because after you level it, you also have to do the Z offset as well, where it probes the middle of the bed, same paper method, push the arrows up and down, get some good friction on that paper, and then, you're good. I thought I was good. I've leveled beds many times before. I'm like, okay, I know what to do. So I went back and re-leveled the Z-axis, or redid the Z-axis. I printed the same part again. It looked even worse. I looked at that first layer and I'm like, it looks like the Z-axis was too far away from the bed. I can see spacing in between the lines. What's going on with this printer? So I level it and Z offset again, level it, Z offset again, until I start getting a good first layer in a decent print, because before then it was just always off. And like, I'm setting it, I can feel the tension on this paper. Why aren't these layers going down the way that they should? Why is it always too high up? I literally just did this. But I got it to a point where everything was great. I was printing these clips that I can put on the belt for protection. Printed out a whole bunch of those, went to bed, came back the next day, turned the printer on, went to print out some more of those clips. Z-axis is off again. The first layers are so far apart, you can peel it off the bed and play it like an accordion. That's how far apart they were. So again, I'm doing the Z-axis over and over. And that is the thing that keeps happening with this printer. That apparently is a very common issue that's been going on for a long time. And there does not seem to be a definite fix for it. Why won't this printer remember the Z offset? Why do I have to change it every time I turn the printer off? And I've seen multiple different types of potential solutions, and some people contradicting other people. Some folks pointing to Discord. Is the firmware? Well, usually that would be the solution. You would update the firmware for a printer and it will solve issues that you have. Except I keep hearing these horror stories about bad things that have happened when people updated their printers, as well as a somewhat confusing way how do you update that printer. Because you got to update both the printer and you have to update the screen. And you have to do that with the USB stick and a micro SD card separately. Even if you're connected to the internet, you can't just go check for a firmware update. Here's one, download it, installed it, okay, you're good to go. No, no, no. You have to go to your computer. You need to download it from the internet. You need to put it on these cards. You need to put it inside of the printer. You need to let the printer install it. Then you got to take the screen. You got to unscrew the back panel. And then you have to put the micro SD card in the spot with the back panel. And then you'll be able to update the screen. And then your printer will be fully updated. And you should never update the printer without updating the screen. They both have to be together. But then there was another weird thing kind of going on, and there was a fix pack issued, and that somehow incorporated itself into the firmware updating process. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to work because honestly, I tuned it out at that point because I'm like, why do you need a fix pack for a firmware? Why don't you just release fixed firmware? I'm not a coder. There's probably a good reason for that, but from a consumer standpoint, this is just crazy. And I'm someone who's willing to look at this stuff and look into it. But what if you're just a beginner? What if you're not a tech person? These are the things that you are expected to do in order for your printer to be reliable. Some other things that I've seen was the printer it's not putting the bed mesh from all the leveling into its memory. So you need to change the G code. You need to add something after the G28 line of the G code. Something like bed mesh load equals 6 or equals 11, depending on which leveling mode that you chose. And you're supposed to put that in. And then you have to go to Clipper, make sure that the mesh is loaded. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, but it's not solving the problem with the Z offset. So what do some other people say? Like, well, have you done the screw tilt adjust? What the heck is that? Well, here's this huge list of things that you have to do. Clipper tells you to turn things either clockwise or counterclockwise to a certain degree, and then you do. And I'm like, bro, listen, I'm not trying to do all that. I'm not trying to do all that. I know that tinkering is a big part of 3D printing, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that I should have to do it, especially if you spend hundreds of dollars on a machine and you just wanted to remember where the nozzle is supposed to touch the bed so that you can just keep printing. And when you turn it off, you don't have to redo everything because the printer is faulty in some way. You shouldn't have to do that. And that's just the stuff that I've been experiencing. Other people, they've experienced other issues as well. But it really made me wonder, like, why in the mainstream of things, how come I haven't heard about this? Because every time I heard about the Neptune 4 in the mainstream, whether it's YouTube videos or written articles, is always recommended as being one of the best. I never hear these issues until they happen. And then you dig in and you start seeing so many other people having the same kind of issues. And it's like, what is going on? Why is this happening? And why has it been not fixed? And will it ever get fixed? I shouldn't have to scour the internet and Reddit forums and Discord to solve a problem that appears to be so common with these printers. It seems to me like Elegoo should have come out in an official capacity and say, hey, we know you all are having problems with this Z-axis offset problem. Here's what you need to do to fix it. And have it just be that authoritative voice from Elegoo to tell you exactly what it is that you need to do. So whenever someone has that problem, people can just point them towards that official thread, and you don't have to try to get answers from the community instead. And if you're on Reddit, run the risk of angering some horribly depressed and just arrogant gatekeeper who just wants to bash you for asking a simple question. I was reading through this one thread and someone was just as respectful as they possibly could be. They tried to do research for themselves. They were trying to figure out for themselves. But the person responding to them just wanted to continue to tell them what they didn't know. You need to read this documentation. You don't know how Clipper works. You think that is this, but you're wrong. And I'm just reading through this and I'm like, why don't you just help this person instead of telling them what they don't know? They know what they don't know. That's why they're asking. Why are you going to make someone feel so horrible just because they're asking a simple question where you seem like you're so high and mighty and you know so much? I'm a Clipper developer or whatever you're supposed to be. Then why don't you help someone in the community who's got a problem instead of basically telling them, fix it yourself. And then when you get it wrong and ask for help, I'm going to shame you because you didn't get it right the first time. As if you were born with this knowledge about how these things work. There's a motorcycle outside. I don't know if you hear it. I like motorcycles. Motorcycles don't bother me when they make noise, except when I'm trying to record. That's when I have a problem with it. But I like two wheels. But yeah, anyway, those kind of interactions with the public when you're trying to get help is something that, we probably see a lot less of if we just had a simple solution provided from the manufacturer of this printer in order to solve a very common problem with it. Now, I will say that once I get the Z axis to where I want it to be, as long as I don't turn it off, I can just print over and over and over and everything will be fine as far as the leveling is concerned. I did have to calibrate the flow because I was over extruding out of the box, which I think is the reason why that tool holder that I printed didn't turn out so good. But since I calibrated the flow, things are looking better. There's another motorcycle. I guess it is that time of year, 63 degrees. It's mostly sunny. Good stuff. But those are just the things with the Neptune 4 Pro that I had to experience that never had to do with the FlashForge Adventurer 5M. I never calibrated any flow of any kind. I have never had to tinker with the Z offset ever. I haven't had to do anything. Nothing technical. The most technical thing that I've ever done with that printer is change from Flash Print to Orca Slicer. That's pretty much it. I've been very happy with it. I've printed so many things. I'm probably going to make another video just to show you the different types of things that I've printed since I got that printer, and it's currently printing something right now as well. So I still think that it is a tremendous value for money, especially if you can get it for $2.99. Like, they keep putting it on sale, then it falls off of sale, but then they put it back on sale. I think that they need to make $2.99 just the price. FlashForge, they need to make $2.99 the price for this printer because it's already a really, really great value, and you need to just keep it that way. And then they also put on Facebook, they theorized a question. They said, how would you guys feel if for an additional $20, you can get an upgrade that would do something about printing in more than one color? How would you feel about that? And people were like, oh, yeah, it was great. But they mentioned on an upcoming printer. And so that's when folks were just kind of like, well, if you do this with the existing printers, making an upgrade to the Adventure series, that would be great. But please don't come out with another printer and then have this upgrade path for the other printers. You got something really great going on here with the Adventurer 5 series. Support that if you can. So yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever it is that FlashForge has to announce at some point in the future. And like they said, hopefully it'll be an upgrade path. Can you imagine that, instead of just going out and coming up with a whole new printer with these new additions and then making everyone who bought the 5 series just feel really bad? 'Cause I feel like if I just would have waited, I wouldn't have wasted my money. If they just provided upgrades that you can just attach to it, that would be amazing. It really would be. But yeah, like I said, I'll probably do another video showing you some of the things that I printed with that particular printer, and it's just been no maintenance for me. I know that's not the case for some people. Some people have problems right out the bat. It's going to happen, but fortunately for me and for many others, FlashForge printers, which I do believe this is a very beginner friendly printer. From the moment you turn it on, the first time turns it on, it says, I am going to calibrate and level myself. You just need to wait about 9 minutes. And then from there, you can do whatever you want. It's not like that, Neptune printers. It's not. You get the screen and it's like, what do you want to do? You need to know what to do. But the FlashForge printer, you don't need to know what to do. It'll do it for you. and that is fantastic. But I will say, one of the other things that is beginner friendly, but not really wallet friendly when it comes to the FlashForge printers, is the nozzles. It's really easy to swap. It's a whole assembly. Hold those two red clips on the print head. Pull that nozzle out. Get the new nozzle. Stick it right back in there. You're fine. No twisting. No unscrewing anything. Nothing like that. Only problem is they're expensive, comparatively speaking. We're talking between 35 and 40 bucks for a nozzle. And compared to something like the Neptune printers, you can go on like AliExpress and you can get a new nozzle for like $2.60 of all kinds. You can get, I think it's like point 0.4, maybe point 0.2, point 0.6, point 0.8, brass, stainless steel, hardened stainless steel. You can just buy a handful of those for like 10 bucks. It was an absolutely fantastic deal. And it's not as easy to swap as a FlashForge printer, but as far as the money is concerned, in that case, I think it would be worth spending far less money and spending a little bit of time just using a tool to get that nozzle off. But again, it is still in that range of being something that's so friendly to beginners because you can just take it and pull it right out. It doesn't really get much more simple than that. No tool is required. It's just hopefully you can make those nozzles last for a very long time to kind of make up for that increased price up front. So basically what I think makes a beginner friendly 3D printer is just handling the most frustrating aspects of this that will always cause print problems. That's leveling and the offset and the flow of your filament. You can get that down with the hardware and software. It'll make such a much more pleasant experience for everyone. To have the printer say, hey, you don't have to do anything manual. I'm going to level myself and just know that everything is going to be fine. Just like the Bamboo printers, they do it. Just the FlashForge printers, they do it. Cheaty Tech printers, they do it. Heck, even the Creality printers, I know that they have their issues as well, but as far as getting everything set up, hey, it's still just as easy. You don't have to go through so much. And even their bed slingers for the V3, KE and the Ender 3 SE. Again, no knobs. It just does it all itself. So basically, if you don't have a 3D printer yet, and maybe you're thinking about it, I would still recommend the FlashForge Adventurer 5M. I think it's fantastic. But I would say if you want to get the Neptune printers, which, has one of the loudest voices in the room, maybe think about it a little bit, do a little bit more research because it's not as plug and play as you might be led to believe. There's tweaking that needs to be done. And I think that tweaking is something that you can and should definitely learn more about as you continue to 3D print. But when you're just getting started, you just need to get wins under your belt. You just need to get some prints fired off and look at them and just be amazed. Oh, I can't believe I was able to do this. And then as you get more into it, you'll start to learn more and be like, well, what can I do to improve this? And then you start looking into calibrations and you'll start doing calculating your E-steps and, and all that stuff, But right out the box, you should never have to worry about that. Just go. And the Neptune 4 printers just don't let you go. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of the Figure Feedback Podcast. And if you want to see more videos about the FlashForge Adventurer 5M, because I know that, a lot of people are really interested in that printer, I do have a playlist that I put together, and I have all the videos that I made about that printer in that playlist, and all the other ones moving forward will also be in that playlist. So you just have one place to see them all. And coming up, I'm going to do a video about the stuff that I've been printing. And then also we're going to take a look at printing miniatures on that printer as well, and what that experience is like with the standard zero point 0.4 millimeter nozzle that it comes with. So if you're interested in miniature printing, you'll be able to see what that's like. So that's all for now. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon.